Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Newcastle training ground where I am today for Newcastle's training session, just to see how things are after that 4-0 thumping of Spurs at the weekend, and with the team obviously gearing up for the trip to Crystal Palace a week today. Eddie Howe without doubt will be happy that they've got 9-10 days to prepare for the trip to Selhurst Park, and it will allow maybe some of his players, the likes of Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall, who were on the bench at the weekend against Tottenham without having trained all week in the build up to the game. It will just allow them that key time, 10 days, to try and ensure that they're in top shape for that trip to London in a week's time. Obviously the news yesterday that Joe Willock will be out now until the end of the season, rather than out injured, rested until the end of the season as he tries to recover from that ruptured Achilles last summer. Look, without doubt it's been a hugely frustrating season for the midfielder. I was actually at an event with him here in this hall last week, and you could tell with his body language that he's frustrated at the recovery, frustrated the length of time it's taken, and probably he knows himself that he's not 100% right now, and he's not as good as he was last season or the season before, and he wants to be back there. And the decision has been taken between Eddie Howe and his staff at the club, the medical department, alongside a specialist. He saw a specialist at the tail end of last week. The decision has been made that the best thing in Joe Willock's interest will be that he rests between now and the end of the season, and hopefully he's back fighting fit at the start of pre-season to be a big part of things next season, because without doubt he's one of Newcastle's or one of Eddie Howe's key cogs in his wheel, one of his top players and one of the players he really turns to, and he adds something different to that midfield when he is fully fit. So look, another blow for Newcastle. That's 11 players out right now when you include Sandro Tonali in there as well. So it'll be interesting this morning to see if Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall are there. I would expect without doubt, of course, Willock not to be there, but it'll be interesting to see if any other players are back. The likes of Nick Pope, Callum Wilson, Kieran Trippier, I think, are all getting close. In fact, I actually saw Callum Wilson out there training on his own last week, doing some finishing drills and whatnot. But it'll be interesting to see what stage he is at, what with his surgery on his pec that he had a number of weeks ago. I think he was hoping to return by the sort of end of April, start of May, and it'll be, they'll want to get as many of these players back. I think what the frustration thing will be for Newcastle is that when the aforementioned players are back alongside Joe Linton, when these players are back, the season will be almost drawn to a close, and it'll be a difficult thing for the players, because they'll be coming back just when they're getting some time off. And Newcastle, but although Newcastle aren't going to get them as they get back to fitness, what they will do is they'll get them fully fit, ready to go come August when the season gets underway. So anyway, let's pop out today, have a little look at training and see where things are. So as we can see, there is the good news. Callum Wilson back in what looks like full training for Newcastle this morning. A welcome sight for you guys as Newcastle fans, a welcome sight for his manager Eddie Howe as well, because look, he's been a miss with regards to having an option to come on and replace Alexander Isak. Look, Isak's been in red hot form as we all know, scoring 2 against Spurs at the weekend, 21 goals for the season, 17 in the Premier League, and hunting down the Golden Boot. But I think Newcastle were at their best earlier in the season and last season when they had both players to choose from. Eddie Howe could sort of switch them up a little bit when the schedule was busy, and also we know Callum Wilson against certain teams scores, and he's still got a lot to give at this level. Without doubt he's still one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and he will want to get into that England squad for the Euros like he did for the World Cup just under 2 years ago. So look, a welcome sight there to see the striker, the England international Wilson, back in training. He will be relieved at that as well. As I said earlier, I saw him training on his own last week, maybe about 10 days ago. So there he is, taking part in some ball work. Whether that means he can take part in full contact work or not, I'm not too sure. But look, I think the hope would be that he's back by the end of the month and can play the last sort of 4 or 5 games of the season and stake a claim for the England squad, and I suppose stake a claim for his Newcastle United future as well, because you would suggest he's probably one of those players that might be at risk of leaving in the summer. We know there was interest in him in January. I think it was interest he was flattered with, and it might be the case where Newcastle look to maybe bring in a younger striker, perhaps someone who has less injury problems, and it might be a chance to try something different. So look, he will want to try and put himself in the shop window and also prove to everyone else, Newcastle fans, England supporters, prove to himself that he's still got it. So that's good news this morning, with a raft of players out injured right now. Good news that Callum Wilson is back and is involved at Newcastle training. Just showing you some more of the training footage this morning. Lewis Hall was there, so as I said earlier, good for him to try and get a full week plus of training. He came off the bench against Spurs at the weekend, having not trained all week, so you would suggest that there's a good chance he will come in against Crystal Palace. No Tino Livramento though, so not so good news for Livramento, but it might just be a case that he's been rested or doing his individual work inside. I would not read too much into that. And no Fabian Schär either, but look, he's held that defence together, scored a great goal at the weekend, that 4th goal, and you know, he's been one of the first names on the team sheet all season long. So as far as I'm aware, nothing to worry about regarding Fabian Schär. No Joe Willock, and interesting as well, no Sandro Tonali this morning. I believe he's been back in Italy as part of his rehab process, so he's not there at training this morning. And neither too are the likes of, you know, Pope, Botman, Lascelles, obviously, because they've all been out for some time. I mean, the list is pretty endless. I think Almiron's probably one who's getting close to a return as well, but no sight of him at training this morning either. I think I'm just going to finish by talking about the league table, and when you look at the table now, you know, things looking so much better for Newcastle. They've put a run of their results together at a very good time. Everyone else, really, apart from Chelsea, been losing, slipping up a little bit. West Ham losing, Brighton losing, Wolves, Man United, I don't know what you're going to get from them. It feels like Newcastle and Chelsea are the two form teams, and you know, Chelsea, as we know, although they're in decent form just now, could lose at any point, and I just feel Newcastle are hitting some form at the right time. They've got two forwards in the shape of Isak and Gordon who are absolutely flying right now, and I think if those two carry on their form between now and the end of the season, that should be enough to get Newcastle European spot for next season. Now, whether that is in the Europa League or the Europa Conference League, we'll have to wait and see. A lot depends on what Manchester City do. You know, I think a 7th place finish will be enough. Some would say maybe you need 6 just for insurance, but I would like to think 7th would be enough for a place in Europe next season. And you know, although you'd want to play in the Europa League rather than the Europa Conference, what a chance it would be to win that tournament for Newcastle. So look, loads to play for in the last remaining 6 games. Newcastle will want to finish the season on a high, and look, I think the place is totally on a high after that win against Tottenham at the weekend, and they'll bounce into that match against Crystal Palace next Wednesday. So that's it from me at the training ground this morning, guys. Hope you enjoyed the training shots. Subscribe if you haven't done it already, and leave your comments below on your thoughts regarding Callum Wilson back in training this morning and the injury situation that we reported on regarding Joe Willock yesterday. Okay guys, cheers for now.